So there's a new Roblox Bleach game called Project Mugetsu, and this is a Roblox Bleach game that releases in a few days. And a lot of YouTubers have made videos being very critical about the game. So I did the research to see if the problems people have with Project Mugetsu are real serious problems that we should be concerned about, or they're just not. And at the same time, I think I'll be able to provide a good estimation of where you guys should have your expectations at for this game and how high you should really think of this game before it releases. First, let's look at the most common problem people have with Project Mugetsu, and that's that the graphics and UI are just Project Slayers, literally. And for those that couldn't tell, this is blatantly a fact. Like, you can't dispute this. Look at the UI, look at the Project Slayers UI, and just look at the general graphics. They are pretty much the exact same. But a lot of people see this as a problem, and I personally don't. See, if Project Mugetsu gameplay-wise is exactly like Project Slayers, that's where it becomes the issue in my opinion. But from a graphics standpoint, yeah, the graphics look like Project Slayers, but they also look good, and I don't care that they look like another game. And realistically, most of the people saying this is a problem for them don't even really believe that if you think about it, because think about it. Look at a game like Project Slayers, which came out, and so much of its rep and popularity was from looking like Grand Peace Online. And from a player count standpoint, that's part of the reason Project Slayers was so successful. Now, to be fair, Project Mugetsu looks a lot more similar to Project Slayers than Project Slayers does the GPO, but I feel like the point still stands. People don't really care. And I've also seen a lot of people say change the UI. It doesn't take a lot of effort to change. Why is it the exact same as Project Slayers? And my opinion on this is pretty much the same as my opinion on the graphics. Like, why does it matter? The UI is just there to help with functionality, in my opinion. What really matters to me is gameplay, and the UI is just there to help enhance the gameplay. It's really not that big a deal. And this is mainly coming from the perspective of the UI is not even bad. It's just similar to Project Slayers. I mean, it is Project Slayers UI, if we're being real here, if y'all have seen it. But like I said, I don't care that it looks similar to another game. That personally doesn't bother me at all. Especially when they still look good. It's just similar to another game. Now, for those of you that actually does bother, I'm really curious of why. Because like I said, I just don't understand it personally. But I'm open-minded, you know. If y'all actually have good reasoning, I might change my mind. But now I want to look at something that is most likely going to be a serious and constant issue we're going to see in this game, at least from what I've seen so far. And that's constant delays and most likely also long update times. The first and most obvious reason that suggests this is the game has already been delayed 3 times, I'm pretty sure, total. Which, to be fair to them, that's not anything unusual for Roblox games. But nonetheless, this is already starting to show somewhat of a pattern. I mean, you also got to consider that they have devs from Project Slayers, which is literally known for having super long update times. And then if you also consider that the game, at least in my opinion, has really good graphics, which means updates are going to take longer naturally because things take longer to make. When you look at all these signs one by one, you can probably brush them off. They're not that big a deal. But when you combine them, it kind of makes like some sort of pot, and it just feels very likely that we're not going to be getting fast updates, and we're probably not going to be getting that significant amount of content per update. But to be fair to Project Mugetsu, it's still possible that they'll release fast and good updates, but in my opinion, it's just not very likely. But now I want to look at the PvP, and I'm somewhat in the middle on Project Mugetsu's PvP. For me personally, it actually does look pretty fun, and then with some friends, I can imagine it'd be pretty enjoyable. But unfortunately, I can't go too in depth on that PvP for Project Mugetsu because I don't have access to the game, and that's because I don't have enough subscribers. So I would appreciate if y'all subscribe so I could get access and make better content. I feel like it's hard to judge PvP in games if you haven't actually tried the PvP, but from what I have seen, it's not the worst in the world because they do have a evasive system, which will help to prevent infinite comboing at least a little bit. I do think it does look better than Project Slayers PvP in my opinion, but I don't know. Obviously, I can't play. Earlier, I said how graphically I don't care that it looks like Project Slayers, but apparently gameplay and progression is also very similar to Project Slayers. And this is a serious concern to me because especially on release, Project Slayers PvE was not good. I'm sorry. It was alright. It wasn't the worst thing in the world. It wasn't just like a straight bandit beater, but it wasn't good at the same time. But if it's like Project Slayers PvE, a lot of Project Slayers PvE focus on just running around and fighting bosses. But in my opinion, I feel like in Project Slayers they did it wrong because I feel like the bosses didn't even feel like bosses. Hear me out, because I like the idea of running around and fighting bosses. I feel like boss fights are way more engaging and fun than, you know, bandits, for example. But in my opinion, Project Slayers made the bosses too easy to the point where it didn't even feel like I was fighting a boss anymore. It more of just felt like I was fighting a slightly intelligent NPC, which to be fair, that's a lot better than what we see in like just straight bandits because it's at least somewhat engaging. But like I said, it's not the funnest thing in the world, so hopefully it is a bit different at least. But looking at some realistic expectations you guys can have for Project Mugetsu, it's kind of what you would probably assume. The game seems somewhat generic and seems to be kind of carried by its graphics, which to be fair, it does have good graphics. But when graphics is your main separator between your game and all the other Bleach games on Roblox, that's not usually the best thing. Well, at least not the best thing for making a good quality game, but it is the best thing for getting players on your game and making money. I didn't even go over game passes and monetization, but they're really going with the Project Slayers right here too. A ton of game passes with the spin system. The only real positive I see here is they have the same system as Project Slayers, where you you can get orbs by killing bosses, which you can use on Robux items. I think most people would prefer less pay to win mechanics with no orb system, but I do think it's at least good that there is some way to get it legit. I'm sure it will be kind of ridiculously grindy, but at least there is a system in place. And to be fair, we do gotta be at least a little lenient because I understand the developers gotta make money, but this is obviously not my favorite system personally. But overall, what are we looking at here with Project Mugetsu? We're most likely looking at a somewhat generic and basic game with decent but not complicated mechanics that also has a lot of pay to win features and is somewhat carried by graphics. And apparently from people that have tested the game have said that the game has a lot of mechanics that need to be fixed and revamped before they launch the game, but they're launching the game regardless, so hopefully they have fixed some of the things people have been worried about. And this game most likely doesn't have a lot of content. It is possible that there is a lot of content, but I'm just going off of what's a realistic expectations you could have. And does the description I just gave you not remind you of anything? It reminds you of Project Slayers. Let's be real here. Honestly, I didn't expect to be saying this when I started this video, but the game seems to be Bleach Project Slayers. I was giving it a chance, and I still will give it a chance. The game looks fun, I'm not gonna lie. I like Project Slayers personally, but if you don't like Project Slayers, you're probably not gonna like this game unless you just like Bleach or something. But that's just my personal opinion. Feel free to disagree. I'm not sensitive about this or nothing. Just let me know what y'all think. And if y'all enjoy my content, I would appreciate if y'all subscribe. I love y'all. Thank y'all. Love y'all double. Later.